Okay, we're going to get started in about 5 minutes. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. We will get started with our lesson. First, a little introduction. I've kind of been introducing the segments that will be taking place. Just a small recap. We will have weekly lessons regarding the Illinois pre-licensing broker exam. We are studying for the state of Illinois out of the Modern Illinois Practice and Illinois Textbook, the 11th edition. If you want to follow along, I will put a photo on the website, which is cbarealty.net. I'll put a photo on the website for you guys to check what that edition looks like exactly. So, without further ado, we're going to get started. I chose to put the PowerPoint presentation in a PDF format so that I could share it to the website after the meeting has been recorded for those people who would rather go to the website, for those people who really don't do social media, as far as YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, or any of those platforms. So, let me bring up what we're going to be speaking on this week, which is the introduction to the real estate business. The learning objectives will be to identify the various career opportunities available in real estate and the professional organizations that support them, that support these professions, to describe the 5 types of property, and that those are the 2 subjects that we're going to be talking about today. It shouldn't take no more than about 15 minutes. So let me share what I would like to go over with you guys this week. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, let's shoot for this one more time. Okay, so hopefully everyone is able to see my screen. I'm hoping. This is the first time at this, recording a Zoom and going live stream on YouTube. So hopefully it will work out for the best. Um, Let me resize my screen. Okay. So real estate, a business with many specialties. And as I said, what for the learning objectives, what we're going to be identifying here are the professions within real estate, which are the specialties. And we also are going to be identifying the types of properties, those types of properties that we as licensees in the industry represent within a transaction. So let's get started. Brokerage. Brokerage is the business of bringing people together in a real estate transaction in residential or commercial. That is the definition of brokerage. So when we speak of brokerage, we're talking about places such as Coldwell Banker, Remax, Beard and Warner, CBA Realty. Uh, so we're talking about that, right? It is the business of bringing people together. So that's what we are in the business of doing. We're in the business of bringing buyers and sellers together, be it in residential or commercial transactions. Okay. Appraisal. Appraisal is a process of rendering an opinion of the property's market value based on established methods, the appraiser's professional's judgment. Okay. So an appraisal is just that. It is the rendering of an opinion of market value. So you will hear sometimes, or you may have heard in your everyday life, dealing with anyone that you know that has purchased real estate or has been in a part of a real estate transaction, that there is an appraisal involved, and the appraiser, the person who actually does the report, this is what he puts out, this appraisal that is a report that is an opinion of market value. So sometimes these appraisals are challenged. If the seller thinks that their house is worth more than the appraiser had given it, maybe, they can show proof or evidence by supplying receipts or, something to justify their wanting to challenge the appraisal. So in our lesson later on, we're going to talk about these appraisers and the approaches that they use to come to this market value of these properties that we're going to be speaking about. So just keep that as a side note. And in your notes, and I hope that you guys are taking notes, go ahead and put an appraisal. We're going to go over 3 processes of valuation as it pertains to appraising. They are the sales approach. I'm going to go over that in detail. Just write that down for now. The sales approach, the income approach, and the cost approach. Okay. And that's it for now. That's all I want you to know for that. So we're on the business of real estate. We have property management. So property management is a person or company hired to maintain and manage property on behalf of its owner. So a property manager is a person that's basically hired by the owner of a complex, either it be a single family home all the way up to 200 to 400 units. This property is being managed by this brokerage, right, that has designated this broker/agent to be this owner's designated property manager. Okay. So property management and leasing, we're going to talk about that more in units 17 and 18, I believe it is. Yes, in our 11th edition of the Illinois Real Estate pre-licensing textbook. Yes, those are units 17 and 18. So we're going to go in depth with that. The real estate exam will have a couple questions regarding it. Not much. I'm going to try my best to highlight those areas that are um, given most attention. Financing is a business of providing the funds that make real estate transactions possible, be it residential or commercial. Financing is needed if cash is not on the table. Of course, we know cash is there, there's no financing needed. And we're going to go into the different types of financing later, be it FHA, VA, conventional. And we have installment financing, seller financing. There are many, I would say, creative ways to do financing to obtain real estate. So the transactions can be, similar, but all different depending on your financial institution, what they will allow, and we'll go into all that. But financing basically is the business of providing funds that make real estate transactions possible. Subdivision and development. Remember, we're talking about the specialties, the professions in the real estate business. Subdivision is the splitting of single property into smaller parcels. So subdivision is the splitting of a single property into smaller parcels. Development involves the construction of improvement on the land. And that improvement, of course, you guys guessed it, it would be real estate. So the subdivision and development, I would say an example of that would be if any of you are familiar with the in Illinois, the south side, south suburb Matson, where they did this subdivision and development, where they actually took a single property, acres of land, right? It could be acres, 10 acres. I'll say an example of 10 acres. And what they did is developed on that land by building single family homes, right? That which they sold. So home inspection is a licensed profession that allows practitioners to combine their interest in real estate with their professional skills and training in the construction trades or in engineering. So home inspection or a home inspector, which we converse with as realtors when we're working with the buyer, when the buyer is, that's one of their contingencies in their sales contract, they would like a home inspection. So this home inspector, what he does is he goes to the property, he inspects it from the roof to the structure. And basically what he's doing is telling the buyer the age, right? The life expectancy of that component, be it the roof, the plumbing, the electrical, the foundation, things of that nature, the major bones. And, some cosmetic inspections are also included in his report or her report. So that's our home inspection. Counseling is another profession within the real estate business. It involves providing clients with competent, independent advice based on sound professional judgment. So an example of this would probably be with HUD counseling. And when we hear that, we say, oh, HUD counseling, well, that relates to home buying. So you're exactly right. What it does is that it takes that consumer, client, buyer, home buyer, and it just really go over the process of home buying, home ownership, and things of that nature. Education is a licensed profession that covers everything from pre-licensing education to continuing education. And that's where you have Michi Silas. So that's my role here for you guys. I am to provide these weekly clips that we're going to go through. Again, if you didn't get it at the beginning or you missed it, we're going to be using the Modern Real Estate Practice in Illinois 11th edition, and I will post a picture on my website, which is cbarealty.net. Okay. Now, we also have auctioning as a profession. Okay, I don't see it here in my slide, but I don't want to miss auctioning, and I will be sure to add it. Auctioning is where the property has basically foreclosed and went back to the bank, and the bank is now the owner, and they are just putting the property out for bid, right? Basic auction bid. So, this type of auctioning process, believe it or not, I picked up that there is going to be a CE course or a course offered for this auctioning. I will let you know more about that in the next class. Since I did not have that slide, I will elaborate on it next week. Okay. So the professional organizations that are support these specialties that support the professions that we just went over. They basically are there to guide us, right? We can call on them if we have a question as a licensee. Don't be afraid to reach out to them. They're not the monster, right? The big bad wolf. I mean, they're actually some pretty cool guys that work at the association here in Chicago as well as Illinois. So basically, there are associations and designations for just about any specialty in real estate. As a residential or commercial agent or property manager, here are some common organizations and designations. We have the Chicago Association of Realtors, the Illinois Association of Realtors, and the National Association of Realtors. So the Chicago Association of Realtors can certify you and as a residential specialist, a CRS, the Realtor Institute, the GRI. It comes from our Illinois Association of Realtors, and the Buyers and Owners and Management Association International will come from the national, which is for everyone, right? Every state, every 51 states from Alabama to Wyoming. I believe if I include every state within there. So these are the professional organizations that support the professions that we talked about. So that would really cover it for the professions and organizations. Now we're going to go into the types of properties. So the types of properties that we, the professionals, the licensees, the realtors, the licensed professionals, these are the types of properties that we represent either a buyer or seller as a client within a real estate transaction. And it should be types of real property, but I said types of property, and that's another glitch there. So types of real property, because we know property um needs something in front of. Okay. So at any rate, types of real property. Residential, all property used for single family or multifamily housing, rather in urban, suburban, or rural areas. That's what most of us as licensees are familiar with or will be familiar with in our career is residential properties. Commercial business properties, they include office space, shopping centers, stores, theaters, hotels, and parking facilities. On the real estate exam, you will see commercial properties and questions regarding it. Industrial warehouses, factories, and land industrial districts. So just think of your big warehouses or factories, if you represent those type of clients, then yes, you would be actually, I don't know, there's a buzzing in the microphone. I'm hoping that you guys don't hear it from the recording. Okay, so industrial warehouses, factories, and land industrial districts. Agricultural speaks for itself. Farms, timberland, ranches, and orchards. And we have special purpose properties, which are churches or places of worship, schools, cemeteries, and government-held lands. So all of these properties and types of properties are going to be mentioned on the Illinois real estate broker exam, and we will go more in depth in all of the types of properties and how they relate to us in our business as we represent clients within these transactions. So, the real estate market, a market is a place where goods are bought and sold. The function of a market is to provide a setting in which supply and demand can establish market value, making it advantageous for buyers and sellers to trade. So, next week, we're going to be speaking on supply and demand. So, this is the first clip. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Hopefully, it went off without a hitch and you guys learned something. Remember, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at Michi, that's M as in Mary, E as in Edward, C as in Charles, H as in Harry, I as in Ice, E as in Edward, at cbarealty.net. I will see you guys later and thank you for tuning in.